We have breaking news this afternoon on ABC 17 News. Federal and local authorities today have made a significant dent in much of the violent crime in Columbia and Boone County. Of course, we've witnessed this over the past summer. Good afternoon. I'm Joey Parker. And in the studio, we are interrupting programming right now as officials are about to reveal the details of this major criminal roundup. The investigation started back in June, and the results of those months of working the streets are just now coming to detail. In Boone County Fire Protection District headquarters, that's where authorities are assembled. That's also where we find ABC 17's Marissa Hollowed right now. Marissa, there are some big names in law enforcement right now responsible for this major bust. Set up the scene for us.
Hey, good afternoon, Joey. Yes, like you said, some big names here, including the ATF, Boone County Sheriff's Department, Columbia Police Department, the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the Boone County Prosecutor, all here today for this news conference. We are learning some information that 27 defendants have been indicted for drug trafficking, prostitution conspiracies, and illegal firearms. Of those 27 defendants, 15 of those are Columbia, Missouri residents. And we're actually recognizing a lot of names on this list here so far. One of those being Malcolm Redman. You may remember last August he was arrested for drugs, for cocaine. There was a raid on his home. Well, now he's been arrested again for prostitution. And also 6 people on this list have been arrested for moving 5 or more kilograms of cocaine. That's a large amount. And earlier I spoke with John Hamm. He's the Public Information Officer from ATF, and he says, well, we will be learning a lot more in this news conference. We'll go to that now.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming here on this lovely snowy afternoon. I am Tammy Dickinson, the United States Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, and I want to thank, first of all, the Boone County Fire Protection District for allowing us the use of this great space in order to hold this press conference. Today we're here to announce a federal indictment that was unsealed today, charging 27 defendants for their roles in a large-scale conspiracy to distribute cocaine and crack cocaine in Boone County, and a conspiracy to promote prostitution in Boone County, as well as other illegal charges of possessing firearms. Numerous law enforcement agencies helped in this, starting at the state, local, and federal agencies. Today, 17 defendants were arrested. As of 2 o'clock today, 7 were previously held in custody on other unrelated charges. Today, I'd like to announce who's joined me, and that is ATF Assistant Special Agent in Charge Billy Wright, Columbia Police Chief Ken Burton, Boone County Sheriff Dwayne Carey, Boone County Prosecuting Attorney, you guys have all switched on me, Dan Knight, IRS Criminal Supervisory Special Agent Bill Park, and Supervisory Assistant United States Attorney Larry Miller, who have all done an excellent job in marshaling this 18-month investigation to prosecute these defendants. I'd also like to recognize our partners in cooperation with Mustang, the Mustang Task Force, DEA, and the United States Marshal Service. This federal indictment dismantled a major drug trafficking organization in Columbia. Today's operation not only disrupts that organization in the flow of cocaine and crack cocaine into the Columbia area, but reduces the level of violence. Numerous firearms were located on these defendants and seized, along with cash and drugs in this takedown. A number of guns on the street and the prevalence of violence in the community was associated with these defendants. Thanks to our diligent law enforcement partners, Columbia's neighborhoods will be safer today, and now will be fit and free of these defendants. A 56-count indictment, of which all of you should have, was returned under seal on November the 5th, 2014 by the grand jury in Jefferson City. In addition to drug trafficking and prostitution charges, indictment contains 50 related drug trafficking offenses for various defendants. As an example of that related to drug trafficking activity, Kristen Sled, a former county employee with the Boone County Clerk's Office, allegedly assisted in leaking information once it came to her attention of a search warrant that was about to be served. When this came to light, the clerk, Christy Blakemore, cooperated fully with the authorities in this investigation to identify the lone employee that was involved in leaking this information, and immediately put in controls to ensure that this wouldn't happen again. But Sled had access to very sensitive information because of her job. She learned of an impending search warrant on August the 1st. She allegedly passed that information to the father of her children, Ryan Key. Key then passed the information on to Redmond, Malcolm Redmond, and other co-conspirators. If the leak had not been detected, the lives of numerous law enforcement officers would have been in jeopardy. So thanks to their ongoing investigation, the leak was detected and the search warrants were executed safely. As part of a prostitution conspiracy, the federal indictment alleges that Redmond established a separate prostitution business alongside with his drug trafficking organization. He wanted to diversify his operations. Co-defendant Ryan Wright of Springfield, Missouri, conducted a prostitution business, and he wanted to diversify into the drug business. Those two shared their expertise. Again, I want to thank all of our law enforcement partners at the local, state, and federal level for such a successful takedown today. And with that, I turn the podium over to Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Billy Wright.
Thank you. I'd like to start off by echoing the comments made by the United States Attorney's Office and thanking all of you for coming today. This is a very important day for the community and for law enforcement. Today, law enforcement culminated a 2-year investigation resulting in the indictment of 27 individuals. 22 of those subjects are currently in custody. I would like everyone to know that the ATF has built a strong partnership with the Boone County Sheriff's Office and the Columbia, Missouri Police Department in building a violent crime task force, which has fostered a safer community through these arrests today. This violent crime reduction partnership would not be complete without the constant collaboration and guidance by the United States Attorney's Office. These enforcement efforts exemplify what law enforcement can do when we pool our resources together with a common goal of reducing gun violence. With these arrests, ATF stands committed in eliminating the criminal misuse of firearms by armed violent offenders. We are targeting the worst of the worst violent criminal offenders in Columbia to bring about a safer community for the citizens who live and work here. Thank you.
Now I present Boone County Sheriff Dwayne Carey.
Just to echo those comments, this is a team approach, a proactive, progressive law enforcement approach, again with the support of the U.S. Attorney's Office. Not one agency can do this by themselves, and so we have a great collaborative approach, and that vigilant approach needs to continue into the future, which all of us have committed to. So thank you for coming, and thank everyone for participating.
Chief.
Thank you. I simply want to applaud the cooperation between all of the local and federal agencies involved in this effort and the hard work of our individual officers, deputies, agents, and prosecutors. It's my sincere hope that these indictments and arrests and our continued cooperative efforts will improve the safety and quality of life of all law-abiding citizens in mid-Missouri. The message to criminals and thugs that I'd like to send: if they continue to engage in violent and lawless behavior in our communities, the consequences for such behavior will be dire. Thank you.
Dan?
All right. Don't have any prepared remarks, but I'd like to say that this is just an example of the great things that can be done when state law enforcement agencies work well with federal law enforcement agencies. I think we have a great working relationship with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, ATF, Sheriff's Department, Columbia Police Department, all other state agencies, and that's what it takes in order to bring these types of criminals to justice. So I applaud all the people behind me and all their agencies for the great work that they've done.
Again, in echoing those comments, it's been about a little over a year since Dan Knight headed the task force that really started to bring formally all of the state, federal, and local agencies together in this cooperative environment. We're limited today on what questions we can answer. And as always, I want to remind you that charges contained in the indictment are simply accusations and not evidence of guilt. The evidence of guilt will be presented in a court of law, and the defendants have a right to a trial by jury. So evidence supporting the charges must be presented at that trial, and it is the juror's duty or the judge's duty to determine their guilt or innocence. But now I will take any questions that we can attempt to answer.
Tammy, you have 22 in custody. Where are they in custody? And the other 5, where are we at with their arrest?
The 22 that are in custody will be held by the U.S. Marshal Service, and then they won't necessarily, they'll be dispersed to various and sundry holding facilities within the Western District of Missouri. The other 5, we are in the process of locating at this point in time. There are law enforcement officers out on the street at this point in time trying to find them.
Is any of the activity gang-related?
I would say that gang activity started the investigation, would be part of it, yes.
How did the leak from the clerk's office come to light?
That is an investigative technique that is not part of the public record at this point in time. So that's not a question that I really can answer.
Could you repeat when this investigation started?
It started about 18 months ago, did it not, Billy?
That is correct, yes.
In the press release, you detail a couple of the firearms that were seized on some of these people when they were arrested. Do you know, are those the only firearms? Do you know how many firearms were seized and what types of firearms we're talking about?
I believe that we have seized 5 of them today. The specifics on those, I do not know if they were long guns or handguns. I don't have that information, I'm sorry.
Mr. Knight, do you know if any of those arrested in this will face further charges for other crimes that happen locally?
Well, some of the individuals that are named in the federal indictment are currently charged in Boone County with various crimes. But other than that, I can't comment on whether or not the state is going to, in the future, charge for any of the conduct that is contained within this charging document right now. But we'll always keep an open mind on that. And like I said, we've had just a great working relationship. It's communication is so important, and these agencies we meet every other month, and we share information. We talk about these individuals and other violent criminals, and we're going to keep that dialogue going.
How many did you say were arrested today?
17.
Well, press release notes that they were distributing cocaine and crack cocaine starting January 2nd through August 6th this year. Were they participating in the prostitution ring earlier than that? Right?
Yes, I believe that they were. Any other questions?
Chief Burton, over the summer in Columbia, there was a rash of crime in one area of town that we were led to believe was related to gang activity. There was an earlier question asked about it. Is that activity what we think, what started, what Mrs. Dickinson alluded to, that it is what started this investigation?
No, it wasn't the catalyst for this particular investigation, no. But obviously some of those actors may very well have been involved.
Beyond the 5 you're currently seeking, do you expect to make more arrests?
I'm sorry?
Beyond the 5 that you're still seeking, do you expect to make more arrests?
That is all that has been charged in this indictment that was unsealed today. I'm sorry?
I was going to say, you mentioned earlier how our community is going to be safer. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think when you take 27 violent criminals off the street in one day, you've definitely made an impact in the community. Hopefully it will have the deterrent effect that we believe it does, that it will curb further serious drug activity and violence in the city. You make an impact when you take 27 violent criminals off the street in any one day. And that's the purpose of it. And they'll be held in federal custody, where the penalties are much more stringent. So we will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. And hopefully, not only will they be removed from the street, but it will have a deterrent effect.
There's a hierarchy in drug dealing, too. Did you get anybody at the top?
Yes, that is where we always focus. We start there.
Who appears to be the leader of, is this one organization or several different networks that were working together?
This is one conspiracy. And Mr. Scott is the #1 charged in the indictment that you see. Along, I think Mr. Redman is #2. So all of them are charged in basically conspiring to, all of them are charged with the conspiracy. So you'll see that they're all working together to distribute cocaine and crack cocaine in the Columbia area.
Do you have any idea where these drugs are coming from, or if there's any other, or if they're suspected of branching out into other areas, or if it's connected more regionally or anything like that?
Again, we're speaking outside of the confines of a public document, so that is not something that I can answer at this time. Thank you all for coming. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Where does this rank in terms of other operations in this region, in terms of size?
I think this is a significant takedown. It's very, very, very significant for Boone County and Columbia. And the bigger the city, the bigger the conspiracies typically. But even in the major metropolitan areas, this would be considered a real success.
What started the investigation? What put you on the trail of this organization?
And again, we are interrupting programming here. You're hearing 17 people arrested today, 22 of 27 suspects rounded up in custody, including an alleged leaker at the county level. We'll sort through all the details and break them down for you on ABC 17 News at 5, 6, and 6:30, and on our late news, also online at abc17news.com. Thank you for joining us. We'll send you back to regular programming.